discussion today is going to be about the new retirement and the new retirement threats that could be coming your way. Good thing we have the Retirement Compass radio show starting right now with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. Welcome into the show. I've got Eli Mardock out of the Omaha and Lincoln offices, and Mr. Gove heading up at Kearney. How are you both?
Doing well. How are you, Jackie?
Good.
Yeah, doing great, thanks.
Eli's getting back into his house after a terrible house fire a year ago, and with all the children and toys and everything else, you guys are getting back to normal, huh?
Yeah, definitely. It's been quite an experience, and I just, I'll just say my biggest learning experience has been I just unplug everything all the time now. So it was a coffee maker that wasn't in use that apparently caused this. So
no,
if I'm around, I unplug everything. It's sort of my new thing.
Wow, a coffee maker that wasn't even in use. That is just the...
Yep.
Luckily, nobody was home, right? Won't you?
Our dog was, but our neighbor let him out. And so, we're blessed that nobody was hurt, and, can't really complain about that. But a small kitchen fire, but, I'd never been through anything like this before. I didn't realize a kitchen fire wrecked your entire house with the smoke and the water and everything else. So, just an interesting experience. Not the way I would have chosen to remodel our entire house, but I guess that if you're going to look at it for a silver lining, I guess that's it. So we have, kind of new everything at this point. But it's been something. So we're glad to be back in. I'll say.
Well, that. I'm so glad that you are.
I appreciate it.
And that's a good thing to remember. Even phone cords. People just leave them hanging out of the outlet.
Yeah, if there's a short or something like that, and I think our house was built in I think it was 1950, and so it had some power that hadn't been modernized, and it was this old sort of low voltage power, which was in vogue in the early 50s apparently, and so it's something like that, and it had a 3-prong outlet, but it wasn't actually grounded, and it was just, I don't know. I'm not an electrician. I don't really know the details about some of this stuff, but that apparently was an issue. So
I think you summed it up pretty well. Tell you the
Thank
truth.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad everything's going well. And soon, if you're watching the video, by the way, of the Retirement Compass radio show on YouTube, that you'll see that Mr. Gove still has no decoration behind him. We're working on that, though, getting him a Stonebridge. I know, getting him a Stonebridge poster, like you see in Eli's shot. But your desk is pretty dang nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I turned the light on.
I know. I like the light. It's a disco thing.
It's a cool effect.
It is a cool thing, but it's really fun that your offices all the way across the state have these beautiful studios.
Yeah, it's a nice resource.
Yes.
A little bit more professional, than recording radio from my office.
Well, it's just a testament to your commitment to getting the message out to people who need to hear and need to see and who are interested in planning for retirement. And these are just such great marketing tools, so people can see you and hear you, and see that you're real people and not salesmen.
Yeah.
You're not wearing a brown polyester suit with a brown and blue striped tie.
Nope.
I left mine at home today.
Darn it!
Otherwise, I would have worn that.
Darn it! Well, I will ask you, Eli, if you could bump up the gain on your microphone.
Yeah. Is that?
I'm not sure where it is, but you'll figure it out as we go along here.
I think I'm on input 1, and so it's already way up there. I'm going to bump it up a little bit. How's that?
There, that's better.
Okay, perfect.
Better for me. Yes,
All
we
right.
can hear you a little bit better. All right, fellas, I say it's a journey. It feels like I took the scenic route, though. Sometimes people go through traffic, detours, and a few financial fender benders on their way to retirement. Even one of the things I've been hearing about, Mr. Gove, is that people take mini retirements, and like stop working and then use their 401 savings to go on some lavish trip or something like this. I'm thinking that's not a good way to save for the future.
No. And honestly, I don't see a lot of people, living the mini retirement. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we can work with that. So
I guess it's a thing.
Well, yeah, maybe it is.
Maybe for millennials
Eli, I don't know
and
if you
stuff.
run into that much,
Yeah.
but
I had someone in my neighborhood that decided they sold their house, they sold their cars, and they went to Europe I think they're still there. I mean, they're they're there for as long as they can be. And I think maybe they have a reserve. I would hope they do. I didn't ask about the details of their trip, but they might be what you're referring to. So they're both retired and they're both in Europe and they're living there as long as they can, and then they'll return to Nebraska. So
I see.
I hope it works out for them.
Well, that's if they're already in retirement. That's one thing. But younger people who are Gen Y and millennials and stuff just, oh, yeah, we're tired of this job. We're going to yank everything out and go on a trip and see where it takes us.
Yeah, and obviously the risk there is, depending on their age, we just did a Social Security workshop last night in Grand Island.
All right.
For younger people, I think it would be a real mistake to plan on Social Security just because we don't know if it's going to be there. The government talks about, well, it's going to run out in 2034, 2035, and then we're going to reduce payments to the people that are receiving benefits. I doubt that they're going to do that. They'll probably raise taxes or figure something out for the people that are drawing. But it's those younger people that I would worry about. I tell a lot of my clients that are retired, when you talk to your kids, tell them to make sure they're saving for retirement. And you should be putting at least 15% into your 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, into those types of investments because Social Security may not be there. You're going to have to fund your own retirement. So if you're depleting those, in your working years,
right,
you're paying a penalty to do it, right? Because if you're not 59 and a half, you take money out of the IRA to take a trip. You're paying tax and penalties to do that. So, and then you don't have that money. You don't get the compound growth over time that you're going to need when you retire.
So do you, by the way, this is the Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge, reachable on the 866 number. We have set up for you, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Let's see. You could also go to the website if you like, StonebridgeIWM.com, StonebridgeIWM.com, and now on the beautiful YouTube. And it's under Stonebridge Wealth Systems, correct?
That's correct.
Stonebridge Wealth Systems. And we have a QR code up there, and you're going to be clicking through that for to the landing page, StonebridgeTaxBill.com. Now, these go hand in hand, 401ks and taxes. Maybe people don't understand that, Eli, that they're, oh my gosh, I'm going to live off of this 401k I've been saving with. I'm just going to draw that down, as I go through retirement. Why would this be a bad idea?
Yeah, it could really change things. With Social Security benefits potentially being reduced, it's something that Jeff mentioned, and I think the trust fund came out recently and said there could be an across the board 19% cut.
My goodness.
Which would affect everybody. Now, I agree with Jeff. I'm not sure that'll happen. There's likely steps that would be taken to prevent that. But either way, your income sources in retirement really have a huge effect on your tax situation. And so, for example, if you are if you're doing a mini retirement and you're taking everything out of your 401k, not only will that's fully taxable, you haven't paid tax on it yet, so it's tax deferred. You also will, if you're not above the age of 59 and a half, pay a 10% penalty on that as well. So you take a pretty good haircut on what you've earned here so far on that. But then even in retirement, and let's say we have a situation where all of our funds right now, you've been working, not really thinking about things, and you're just throwing money into your 401k. First thing I'd say is, one, definitely if you can, check if HR, check whoever you need to talk to, if there is a Roth 401k offer, or if that's available. The big thing would be, to put it in Nebraska terms, we would rather pay tax on the seed rather than the harvest. And so it's something where if you can pay tax now at it doesn't feel like it, but historically low tax rates, versus what unknown tax rates, likely higher, as most experts think. I think we talk about that quite a bit on this show. Tax rates that are in the future could be substantially higher than they are now. You're really able to lock in that lower rate. And so, but in retirement from income sources, how that, just an example, if Social Security is reduced in the future and you're pulling all your funds from an IRA, for example, or a 401k, you could substantially reduce the amount of Social Security benefit you get, actually, because more of that Social Security would be subject to taxation, up to 85% at whatever tax rate you're at. And so it's something where planning is really, really important around that, and the type of funds you're taking out.
I thought that it's interesting that you mentioned, Jeff, 15%. We should be saving 15%. But what if our employer only matches to 6%?
That's a good question. So, and most people, we manage some 401ks, simple IRA, some group retirement plans.
Okay.
And typically, people don't start there, right? That's the goal. We want to try to get to that 15% mark. And really, it doesn't matter. I mean, we want to, right out of the gate, we want to make sure we're getting the free money.
Yes.
If we put money in an order of, best to worst, free money is the best kind of money.
Okay.
Right? I mean, it's free. The next best is tax-free money. And then the next best is taxable money. So get the free money because, if they do a dollar for dollar match, you're guaranteed that your money's going to double just by putting it in there. So definitely do that. But from there, it really doesn't matter what the match is to a certain degree because you have to take personal responsibility for your own retirement. So it might be a situation where you put 6% in the 401k if that's what they're matching, and then you come back to a Roth IRA instead of the 401k. But what I'm talking about when I'm talking about 15% at least, and again, that's the minimum, is when you account for all of those sources, whether it's 401k, Roth IRA, you add all of that together, and that's what you should be doing. And a lot of people would count the match in there as part of that 15%. I'm saying put 15% of your paycheck into that IRA or Roth IRA or 401k.
Very good. To have the IRA discussion, is it the IRA or 401k paradigm, or somebody called it once? Have the discussion with Stonebridge and talk about the best way to save your money because you're right. Social Security is going to be reduced. So the more that we save personally, better off you're going to be. 866-295-5146. Is that an accurate push there? Better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Is that a question?
Yeah, kind of. 866-295-5146. We'll be right back.
Is your retirement being eaten up by financial termites like hidden fees, inflation, and avoidable taxes? Call today for a complimentary financial review so we can help you root out these retirement killers.
Social Security, oh goodness. If you're already claiming it, I think you're the lucky one. It's the Retirement Compass radio show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems, and we have Jeff Gove in the Kearney office, and also Eli Mardock, who handles things in Lincoln and in Omaha. Well, whichever. I know you guys are mobile to travel about the state and all over the Midwest. Doesn't matter exactly where you're needed is where you will go. And they're reachable on the 866 number, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And they can talk to you about your wealth management, your insurance needs, all the things, and your Social Security. So, Jeff, you're talking to big groups of people about Social Security?
Yeah, we just did a workshop last night in Grand Island on Social Security. If you're interested in some of the topics that we do in-person workshops on, Social Security, estate planning, tax planning, general retirement planning, you can go to our website, stonebridgeiwm.com, and click on events, and you can see what events are coming up. I'd encourage you to do that. Come in. It's educational. It's free. Again,
I like that. Best
kind of money, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, last night we did Social Security, and it was John and I did the workshop, and it was fun. We enjoy doing the workshops, but Social Security, when you look at it from a cumulative standpoint, for a lot of people, it's going to be your biggest asset, because when we run these analysis for people, if you're married, you're potentially looking at millions of dollars over your lifetime, depending on how long you live. So it's critical that you understand what options are available to you. There was a financial advisor up in Valentine, Nebraska, that we met with one of their clients, and they're telling people everybody should draw at 70. Everybody, there's no exceptions. Well, I can tell you that is absolutely not the truth. Everybody's situation is different. If you're a widow, you have different options. If you're divorced, you have some options. If you're married, there's some options. So it's really important that you know what your options are and that you make the right decision, because you have one opportunity to do this. You can change your mind once, but I've seen one person do it, because the catch is you have to pay back everything that you've received, and most people aren't willing to do that. So you really have one opportunity to do it right. So educate yourself on what the options are.
Okay.
You can come into the office if you're in. Eli's running the Omaha office for us, so he's the office manager there. If you're in Omaha, meet with Eli. He does a great job. Lincoln, you can meet with Eli or Tim or Zach. Grand Island with John, and we got several advisors here in Kearney. So we got a great team that can help do that Social Security analysis for you.
Very good. And reachable again on 866-295-5146. You can just hop on, make the call, and say, I want to talk Social Security with somebody from Stonebridge. Help me. 866-295-5146. And what do you think, Eli, is the main concern when people come to talk to you? Is it, I think it's going to run out. I want to claim at 62. Is that it?
I think some people will say that. And the answer is that, with Social Security, it's really personalized. It's something where, one, if you call Social Security, they're not able to give you advice. They can certainly tell you what your benefit will be at a certain point. But in terms of planning around it, you can't explain your situation, and they're not going to give you advice on when to claim. A big thing that I encounter, especially with a lot of our clients, is what happens if I've been divorced, or what happens if I'm a widow, and how does that affect my Social Security? And there's one thing where, and I had a client ask this the other day, what would happen if I'm living on let's say my spouse passed away and I'm 61, am I able to get remarried, and does that change my Social Security situation? And there's a big difference there between the answer if you've been divorced or if you're a widow. So if you're a widow, yes, you can, if you're on the survivor benefit, you can go ahead and get remarried. It's not going to affect your survivor benefits. But a big thing that I think a lot of people miss is if you've been divorced in the past and you're now, and you're thinking about getting remarried, your benefit would change there. So it's different if you are, a survivor, or if you are living on spousal Social Security. It's a really important distinction, because it could really have a significant impact on your future income if you don't have that difference in mind.
Oh, goodness. I never understood that exactly. And I have heard people say, well, we're not like elderly people say, not just in retirement, but elderly, there's no reason to get remarried. It'll mess up our Social Security.
Yeah, it's interesting. It made me think of a situation with my wife's aunt. That's a true story. So she was married 3 times, and it just shows how Social Security can get a little bit complex. So her first husband, she divorced because he was sort of just a firecracker, didn't work out. They had some kids, but they separated. Her second marriage, she was widowed. She actually ended up, I think he passed away in the car while driving, and she had to bring the car to a safe stop. And then the third time she was married, the fellow just passed away with I think a heart attack. But for her Social Security situation would be interesting, because in her case, she could take the higher of those 3 options. So if she didn't work during that time, but if her benefit was higher, Social Security would give her the higher of any of those options, right? So it could be her own benefit, but if that was lower, then it could be, if her first husband, for example, whom she divorced, if that was the highest, she could then, even though she'd been remarried twice, she could retroactively go ahead and claim his benefit if it was the higher of the 3. It wasn't in her case, but of her 2 husbands that ended up passing away, when she claimed, she has to refile with Social Security as sort of that process. She would take the higher of the 2. And so it gets very, very complex when you get into Social Security. There's a lot of sort of, small rules, but kind of an interesting situation.
Well, don't keep us in suspenders. Was it the guy who passed away behind the wheel, or the heart attack man who had the higher one?
The heart attack man. I think he worked on nuclear facilities, and so it's a cool life. They went to Japan and lived there for a while, so I think he was the one that ended up providing her the best Social Security overall.
That is so interesting. Can you
Yeah.
believe? That's she should write a book about that or something.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting situation. I mean, in general, but even just looking at the Social Security is it's just interesting.
That should be part of people's story, don't you think, Mr. Gove? Because that's what the bulk of America is right now, is baby boomers. I mean, these things are on top of mind. Anytime I go somewhere and I see a group of people talk about, if I hear the word retirement, now I'm doomed after working with Stonebridge for so long. Then my ear perks up. I'm like, well, what is your strategy? I don't want to give advice. I give them your number, which is 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. Oh my gosh. But that's a lot on top of people's minds, the Social Security. So you may have another one coming up, a Social Security workshop?
Yeah, I'm not sure when the next Social Security, are you guys doing Social Security?
We do. Yeah, we're doing that in Omaha in, let me get the date here.
Sure.
I don't have it top
The
of mind,
website is
unfortunately.
stonebridgeiwm.com, stonebridgeiwm.com. You'll find the shows that we've done previously, the radio shows, listed there in podcast form. You can listen to past shows and try to give them a nice title and make them interesting for you to spend about 10 minutes. We melt it all down into about 10-minute form at Tim's request. He's like, just make it so that they're going from this location to that location and they can listen to it all at once, which I think is fair. But anyway,
I know we have estate planning coming up in Lincoln, but it is waitlisted right now, so it's fully booked.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, and July 22nd and 23rd, we have 2 workshops in Omaha on Social Security. Those will be at Nebraska Methodist College.
Oh, fantastic.
It's a
Fantastic.
new venue for us, so I'm excited to check it out.
Oh, good. So how do they book it? Do they go to the website to get in?
Yeah, they can go to our website.
Great. Again, it's stonebridgeiwm.com. Oh, that's really interesting. That'll be a nice venue. How many people are going to fit in that room? Do you think, Eli?
Your guess is as good as mine. I haven't seen it, so we'll have to check it out.
We'll fill it up. Fill it up.
Yeah.
All right. How about our healthcare shocks? This could be a silent retirement killer when people find out how much they're going to be spending in not just healthcare, right, Mr. Gove, but actually what happens when you need some assistance in the home in your latter part of your lifetime, or if somebody has a chronic illness or a severe illness that limits them, how are you going to pay for it?
Yeah, and that's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, right?
It's not sexy. It's not pretty.
But it's. I told the people last night. There's 2 things. These are your biggest expenses in retirement. Obviously, healthcare and taxes. So if you go to a nursing home, like I've talked to people that are paying $14,000 a month.
Lord,
It's very, very expensive. So those 2 things, if you make tweaks to your plan when it comes to those 2 things, it is like night and day. If you don't go to a nursing home, which, the guys that are listening right now, I know you're saying, I'm never going to go to a home. If I get frail, then, just dump me down by the river or
They
whatever.
all say it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to keep in mind, it's not you making this decision. This is your kids making this decision. They're not going to do that. So if that's your plan, that isn't a plan, because if it is, you're putting your kids in a really bad position where they're going to have to make really hard choices.
Yep.
So have a plan, and it doesn't mean you necessarily need to have insurance to do it, but you need to have a plan to help cover that.
Let's talk about the relationship coming up on the next segment between the legacy plan, the estate documents, and the long-term care. You could loop it all together for us next. 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And this is Retirement Compass Radio Show with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. Find us on YouTube under Stonebridge Wealth Systems.
As Americans, we strive for better. From a better house to a better career to a better life for our children and grandchildren. Better has become the American way. When it comes to your retirement, what does better mean to you? Does it mean more income, a flexible lifestyle, better solutions? A better retirement begins with a financial plan. To get your complimentary written financial plan, call the number you see here. You only retire once. This is your opportunity to plan for better.
Retirement Compass radio show. Now, Stonebridge wants to get you to where you want to go with your retirement, and if it involves retiring your business, some land, some of your property, some of the grain, whatever the story may be, they're certainly capable of helping you do that and have many, many ag clients. Stonebridge is reachable on this number, 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And I just found out that Eli his dad and grandfather were in the bakery business. Now tell me about that, because Mardock is not a German name, is it?
No, it's not. It's Scottish, actually. But my grandpa, his name actually was Dayton, but he went by Don, and he started Don's Bakery in Schuyler, Nebraska in the 30s. But he actually started in South Omaha, and so he had a bakery near what used to be Rosenblatt Stadium. It's now by the zoo. And my aunt was actually born in that building. They lived above it, and they worked below, and they had a bakery there. And my grandma is 100% Czech. And so my grandpa always joked he was Czech by association.
Oh.
And but they moved to Schuyler from Omaha and started a bakery there. But they really specialize in Czech things like kolaches and hoska, things like that. So, but you're also your typical bakery fare.
Breads, I mean, the daily customers. In the 30s, of course, that would be the case, wouldn't it? Because people would go to the main street and get their meat at the butcher shop next door to the bakery, et cetera. Yep. I'm not saying that'd be a bad idea today.
It's tougher. That bakery ran until the late 90s in Schuyler. And, I think it's just tough where, you can go get a loaf of bread for very, very cheap at a Walmart or something like that. And there's not necessarily a ton of people that appreciate a bakery loaf. But yeah, I mean, it was a neat experience to grow up in that. And it certainly gave me a viewpoint of, kind of from a small business perspective where everything that you make, I know for my parents, and hopefully I don't say anything out of line if my parents are interested or are listening here, but, everything that they made went towards their family, but also right back into the business. So when I work with business owners, and I think this applies to a lot of folks, whether they're, what business they're in, whether it's in the bakery business or the ag business, your focus is on, in some ways, cash flow, but also, maybe your best investment is right back into the business in some ways. But you also find that folks that do that don't really have 401ks. They don't have big retirement accounts. And so I would definitely encourage business owners to have a plan and to think about, well, how am I going to, get through retirement when I'm not doing this anymore? And I think, especially in ag, I think you hear about a lot of folks who are, I'm 85 and I'm still out on the tractor, and so that doesn't have to be the case.
It's just what they do, though, isn't it? Don't you find that to be the case, Jeff? Is that's what they want to be doing, and that's what they do. They're out there helping the sons and daughters run the, next generation.
Yeah, but I think Eli made a good point that, it's different if you want to be out on that tractor.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of farmers that I meet with, especially if they have kids taking over the farm, that they like helping out when they're needed. Mm-hmm. But they really enjoy watching their children take that farm over and, farm the land that they farmed, and just the legacy that's there is really interesting, and it's kind of fun to watch. But there is a big difference between I gotta go, calve in the terrible weather when it's freezing cold, or I have to be out in a combine in the fall picking corn or whatever the case is. There's a difference between that and my son farms, or could be a daughter that farms, and I help them out when they need help.
Right. So you can talk to Stonebridge about getting your estate planning, your legacy planning together, 866-295-5146, and protecting everything, including the, the buns over at Don's Bakery.
The buns.
866-295-5146.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Stonebridge Wealth Systems, available to help you anywhere in the Midwest. That's just a blanket statement. I think it's true. You can call Stonebridge and talk to one of the very well-educated, well-versed advisors. Very high level of experience in your firm, fellas. 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And from the Omaha office, I have Eli Mardock. I can't say Murdoch, even though your name, it really does sound like some sort of a actor. I don't know, doesn't it? I am Eli Mardock, or a character in a game or something. I don't know how. Sure. And then
I hear it's an Ellis Island thing. It was probably Murdoch, and then they just either wrote it poorly and it turned into Mardock or something like that. So it's okay if you call me Murdoch. I'm not going to get offended.
Well, still, I'd like to get it right. You think one person can get it right, and that'd be your announcer. And then, of course, we have Jeff Gove, who I call Mr. Gove. One time I had to call you Jeff. I'm like, Jeremy, Jeff.
Like, who's that?
What is your name? Because I call you Mr. Gove.
Yeah.
I guess people called your dad that. All right, fellas, let's talk about this link between estate planning and legacy planning. Because estate planning, legacy planning, and long-term health care, right? It all stems from not wanting to burden the children, right, Jeff? I've heard you say before, I do not want my kids when I'm elderly or infirm to have to be taking care of my daily needs.
Depends on the day these days. Someday I want them to feel the pain. Yeah, generally, no. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So are there ways to preserve wealth within this, I don't know, triangle of discussion? What do you think, Eli? Say we have a big... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, nothing. I was going to say maybe Jeff take a first swing at it, and then I'll add something.
Covering the long-term health.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you an example. My neighbor, who I just moved to a new place, and there's a breezeway between our two doors. And so she has a little dog, I have a little dog. We see each other out on the breezeway or walking the dogs. And she told me their mom, who's 97, is in a nursing home now, professional care facility. And it's not because her brain doesn't work, it's just that her body stopped working, so she needs some help in there. And she says the cost is really bad because it's assisted living at this point. It's not full-on nursing care. So it's like $8,000 or $9,000 a month for her care. And I said, well, because I work with Jeff Gove, I said, and Tim Kulhonik, I said, so are you paying for that just out of her savings? And they said, yeah, they had to sell her condo to pay for this care. And she just left the condo at 96 years old. So She was there a good long time. And so my neighbor, her name is Sharon, she's been really scrimping and saving and thinking that she's going to have to pay for her own long-term care. But that's it's not the case, is it, Jeff?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess when you bring it back to like your original question of like how do you preserve your assets?
Yes.
And really there is a difference between, in my opinion, between legacy planning and estate planning. Those are similar but could be different. Mm-hmm. But if you think about, relating it back to the healthcare cost, if you don't take care of the healthcare problem, there may not be an estate to even talk about, right? Because if, using your neighbor as an example, if they spend down, they sold the condo, if they spend all of that money, well, we didn't really need to spend money on an estate plan because there is no estate to leave, right? Or, the neighbor, the daughter that, man, I don't want to spend all of my money on the estate or on the long-term care facility.
She fears it. She fears it to her bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that, last night I asked everybody in the room to rank 1 to 5. 1, I'm not concerned at all. To 5, I'm really concerned. Several different questions, but one of them is, are you afraid of running out of money? Are you going to be okay? And so many people put a 5. Are you concerned about being able to leave money to your kids? People would put a 5. I'm concerned about going to a nursing home and spending all my money on a nursing home. They put a 5. But yet you have to convince these people to come in to put together a plan for a free appointment, which is what we're offering to all of our listeners today, for a free appointment where we can take that 5 that I'm really, really concerned, it's keeping me up at night, and we can reduce that down to a 1, something that you don't have to worry about. So why not? It's kind of a weird deal. Even sitting there last night, it's like, okay, well, you're a 5, so why don't we address it?
Sure.
And make it a 1? But I think it's the fear of the unknown. I don't want to go because I don't want to know what you're going to tell me.
Right.
I'm afraid of what you're going to tell me.
Better the devil you know, yeah.
But honestly, and Eli can probably speak to this too, it's not typically when people come in and they say, I feel like I'm going to run out of money. When we run the plan, I would say probably 8 times out of 10, everything looks really good. Typically, there's some small tweaks where we can make dramatic impact on your plan, but it's easy things to fix. So that fear, it's not a rational fear. But yeah, I'm kind of going off in left field. But at the end of the day, if you don't address some of those issues, then the legacy plan and the estate plan don't matter because you don't have anything to leave anyway.
Wow. Yeah, it is a free appointment. You can call Stonebridge 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. And you can talk to Eli about all his baking recipes in the family. He and Zach are at the Omaha office and Lincoln office. And then Mr. Gove is over in Kearney. And John's in Grand Island and handles Hastings, and Jeremy roves around. And of course, Tim Kulhonik in the Lincoln office, and there are others. Don't you have a lady who is doing working in Lincoln now?
We have Elisa in Kearney. Yeah,
Elisa in Kearney.
She travels. But the nice thing about, one good thing that came out of COVID, if there's anything good that came out of COVID, is the access to technology.
Yes.
So for our listeners that are in South Dakota or Minnesota or wherever, we have the ability to meet with you.
Sure.
I've got clients in California, both coasts, and everywhere in between. So
right, Colorado. Is it safe to say that you're able to serve the entire country?
we're going global, Jackie.
Yeah. So wherever, because a lot of people have homes here and there, here and Florida or here and Phoenix, wherever it is.
Believe it or not, Nebraska isn't necessarily the retirement destination you might think.
It's that darn weather.
So a lot of times, it's Arizona or Florida, California.
But you're able to help people with their estate plan because estate plan documents differ from state to state, don't they? And you do
and to be clear, we're not attorneys, so we don't draft documents, but we do have attorneys that we work with that do an excellent job. And what we would help you do is, again, make sure that you're going to have an estate to leave and then help you, dream a little bit. Because at the beginning I said there's a difference between legacy and estate planning. Legacy can be while you're living, right? So if you have a bunch of money and, use Eli's example. He grew up in that bakery. That's a legacy. That wasn't an estate plan. That was a legacy that he got to grow up, working with his father and maybe his grandfather for a bit. that's leaving a legacy. Maybe taking your kids to Disneyland or going on a cruise with your family. That's leaving a legacy. An estate plan, that's when you're gone. I want to leave a legacy while I'm living, with memories and things like that with my kids. But you still have to have a plan to do that. Otherwise, you could blow through all your money and not have anything left.
Right. I mean, there are tax strategies, insurance leverage. There's all kinds of things that you can offer to people, even if it's just a distribution plan to distribute that money. What is it called when people are afraid to spend their money in retirement? Don't you have a term for it, or was it Tim who coined some sort of term? But the distribution plan should be that you're allowed to spend the money. You don't need to be watching, your stock go up, go down, go sideways. I mean, that is no kind of retirement, right, Eli?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jeff said it really well in that, why would you essentially continue to have a situation where you don't have clarity and you're sort of guessing at the way forward? And I think the biggest value that working with any fiduciary, working with somebody at Stonebridge would give anyone, whether we work with you as a client or not, whether you're just coming in for a free consultation, is clarity. It's something where, again, if you don't have clarity on what your income might be or what your expenses might be
or your
in
taxes.
retirement, as far as long-term care or even Medicare, and what your goals are there, and whether that's fitting your needs, and what might be the most tax efficient distribution plan for you. If you don't have clarity on that, it's really hard to make the right decision for the future. You're just guessing. Whereas with clarity, the way forward usually is crystal clear once you have understanding. And so that for me is the biggest, I'd say, joy I get out of working with people is really going through their situation and, even if they're, they don't become a client, giving them clarity. Maybe there's a reason we couldn't work together or whatever, but, for clients, for non-clients, sitting down, giving someone clarity about their situation so that they can move forward and take action in a way that it's empowered by information and not a guess.
Sure. I love that. 866-295-5146, 866-295-5146. To reach Stonebridge Wealth Systems, I like what you said. Guessing the way forward, that doesn't feel good. And I know so many people are doing, like my neighbor Sharon. I mean, she stopped all the things that she really liked, like shopping at this particular grocery store, because she's worried about the future. So now she's going to that place to get her groceries. Do you understand? It's because she doesn't have a clear view. So anybody who doesn't have that clear view, again on the number 866-295-5146.
Did you ever think your retirement would be shared with our government? It's true. Your traditional 401k, IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts are like a partnership with the IRS. Simply put, they want their tax dollars, and you have them. With our latest tax calculator, you can plug in your own numbers while sitting at home. To find out what your future tax liability could be, scan the QR code or go to stonebridgetaxbill.com.
Well, we see a lot of different situations that people face going into retirement. To and through retirement is the whole idea, is to get you there comfortably with Stonebridge Wealth Systems. And this is our Retirement Compass radio show. I'm Jackie Selby, and I have the wonderful Jeff Gove in the Kearney office, and I have Eli Mardock in the Lincoln office today, but you could also see him in the Omaha office. And it's really fun to have you here, Eli.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it.
You look like a podcaster. If somebody's looking, am I right, Jeff? If somebody's looking at YouTube, the YouTube channel, they're like, that guy looks like a podcaster.
Yep, he fits the
I don't
bill
know how
for
to
sure.
take that. Thank you.
He does. I know. Thank you. I'm not sure what that means. You can watch it on YouTube. These episodes, if you would like to. It's under Stonebridge Wealth Systems. Please at least go to the YouTube channel and like it. We would appreciate that. Like and save. What do they always say?
I don't know. My 8-year-old wanted to do a YouTube channel, and so we made she does videos, and she does like the subscribe, whatever.
Oh, cute.
Eli, do your kids do that?
Yeah, they all want channels. And
Aw.
I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, sure. And then I just try to, forget about it.
Yeah.
See if they'll forget about it.
Yes. Well, probably until they're old enough to be. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we do have some situations that folks share with us. Like I have some folks, their business is worth about $5 million. But only one of the 3 children interested in taking it over. Now, I know this is a scenario that you face with your ag clients sometimes. They want to be fair, but avoid family conflict down the road. How do you help clients balance succession, estate equalization, and minimizing future taxation? Go, Jeff.
Yep. This is a really good question, and you're right. I mean, with our ag clients, this is something that all of you are probably facing, or just about all of you. Maybe you have, like this example, you have 3 kids. You have a son that's here that's helping you on the farm. And what complicates things even more is maybe they're investing some of their own money into the farm. So, maybe you developed some land and put a pivot on there. So you increase the value of that land, but they invested in that. Well, that complicates things even more, because if you were just going to make it equal, because keep in mind, equal isn't necessarily fair. But if you said everything's going to be equal, I'm going to split it 3 ways. Well, that child invested some of their own money to develop that land to create the value that is now being given to their siblings. So that creates a problem. Now, there are some solutions. Life insurance is a really good option. One of the attorneys that we work with, he always recommends life insurance for these types of scenarios because it can create a large pool of money for a lower cost. So, if you have a farm that's paid off, you wouldn't want that son in this scenario to have to borrow money on the land to buy out the siblings, right? I mean, the goal would be to keep it debt-free. So if that son were to buy life insurance on mom and dad potentially, if you can do on both, it's typically a little bit less expensive. If it's on 2 lives, a survivorship policy is what it's called. You could do that, and then they're the beneficiary of that. So they're buying it on mom and dad. They're the beneficiary, so you pass away. Death benefit goes to the son that would then buy out the siblings. So that's a way to do it. There's a lot of different ways, but we work a lot with attorneys to help address some of these issues. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. But what I can tell you is if you don't have a plan, even if your kids get along today, it's amazing. You throw $5 million into the mix, it can get really interesting. Who is entitled to what? I had a personal story where a family, I'll just say a family,
All right.
didn't have a great plan, and there was a lot of kids, so that created some problems. But the oldest son said that biblically, the oldest son gets everything.
Oh, dear.
'Cause it's in the Bible, so that's
Right.
probably what we should do. And of course, he happened to be the oldest son.
Oldest
Coincidence. Total coincidence. Not being selfish at all. But I mean, this family squandered. I mean, they paid the estate was about $5 million, but they paid, between $1 and $2 million in attorney's fees, just fighting over this estate. So, whatever you develop with an attorney, whatever plan you put together, make sure you communicate that plan, especially if it isn't what we would call equal, where everybody's getting a third, because you can explain why you want it that way, because in this situation, it would make sense. Son invested in the land, so that some of that, there's value there that's already his.
Sure,
So you're
of
not
course.
going to get a third of that. But if you don't communicate that, they're thinking, well, son was there every day, eating lunch with mom and dad, farming every day in their year, and he got it switched. So now he gets 2/3, and we have to split 1/3. So yeah, I mean, the it's in your hands. Communicate, put together a good plan, and move forward.
Could this be handled? By the way, it's 866-295-5146 to get a hold of Stonebridge, because they will consult with their attorneys and they could refer you out. But it's so good to have a plan on all of this. 866-295-5146. You don't want to lose the love of your siblings over an estate, or the parents lose the connection to maybe one or two of the siblings. All right. Can this be handled, Jeff Gove, by just having a will updated?
It depends on the situation. I would make sure you're working with an attorney that you trust.
Okay.
And that does estate planning.
All right.
Not beating anyone up here, but this is too important to just use the divorce attorney that also does wills on the side.
Oh, yeah.
You need somebody that's an expert, because it's,
all right.
you're dealing with a lot of money and it needs to be done correctly.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. Again, to reach Stonebridge, 866-295-5146, and they can get you into the right hands. How about this scenario? Someone who's 60, still working, they have $900,000 in a traditional 401k, but worry that their higher taxes down the road could, sink them a little bit. They've heard that Roth conversions might be good, but not sure how and when to convert without triggering a big tax bill. Can you walk us through how to time Roth conversions and minimize taxes, say for a 60-year-old? You want to, Eli?
Sure. Yeah, you bet.
Great. Thank you.
So it's really important. I think a lot of people in this day and age are very tempted to consult with Dr. Google or Professor Google, I guess I could say, or
Yes.
Professor ChatGPT on stuff like this. But really, it's important to be mathematically precise about it. And, a lot of folks, I think, one, you could have a conversation with your CPA about it. CPAs are fantastic and truly experts in what they do. One thing that we've noticed in our practice is, though, that a CPA can kind of wear a historian's hat, or, they're more concerned about returns that year, not necessarily about tax planning 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future.
All right.
And so when it comes to Roth conversions, at least from my perspective, I think it's important to be as mathematically precise as possible, because the consequences of getting it wrong could be, well, you actually end up paying way more in taxes than you should. So you're overpaying in taxes. And you could end up triggering things like, well, not only going into a higher tax bracket and paying more, but you could trigger income-related monthly adjustment amounts, or IRMAs, which would drive your Medicare premiums up. And so there's a lot of pitfalls potentially in sort of doing it by yourself. And so, for someone that's 60 and if they're retired, there's some considerations there. One, they're not going to have Social Security, and if they're retired, and is this the scenario? They're retired
Yes.
at that point? Okay.
Oh,
perfect.
sorry, 60 is still working.
16 still working.
Yeah.
Got it. So they have income coming in. So it's very careful. You have to be very careful and look, one, at what their income situation is. We use a tax map. So we'd want to look
Tax
at
map, yeah.
look at their current income as it is now from all sources, and go ahead and factor, well, let's say we're in the 22% bracket. While we're working, do we have an extra 30 or 40,000 that we could increase and do a Roth conversion and stay within that same tax bracket? It's a strategy we could employ.
Okay.
But it's something where, again, we want to look at that, and instead of throwing a dart at it, show you a strategy that's really designed to minimize your taxation for yourself and reduce RMDs, but then also create a tax-free legacy for your children. But it's something where, again, it's kind of guessing or doing it yourself could be bad. I'll give you an example. I met with a gentleman who loved to do everything by himself, and essentially said, I just want to, I retired. I just decided to convert my entire 401k all at one time.
Oh, heavens.
And that was probably about $1.2 million. And
Okay.
By the time that I'd met with him, he was in the middle of his, I think he was paying $700 plus for Medicare premiums per month as a result of the surcharges. So it's just, again, a very avoidable mistake, but something you just need to have some planning
Strategize,
advice
right?
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You can use Stonebridge for that. It's super important. 866-295-5146. Who wants to have a regret? Nobody wants to have that, on your permanent record in retirement. It's 866-295-5146 to reach Stonebridge. Closing comments from either Jeff Gove or Eli Mardock?
Well, I guess the only thing that I would add is, that's relatable back to Eli's scenario there is, if only there was a calculator, Jackie, that we had.
Oh, wait, there
could
is one,
tell
for heaven's
them.
sakes. It's StonebridgeTaxBill.com, StonebridgeTaxBill.com. And you could whip out your phone and hold it up to the YouTube, and we have a QR code up there. And this will, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how much time we have, but what that website will do for you is you can enter in how much you have in tax-deferred assets, and it's going to tell you the tax consequences that you're looking at over your lifetime. You're going to be surprised with how much tax. I mean, sometimes it's how much you have in the account over your lifetime or more, which is kind of crazy. But there are things that you can do, like Eli was talking about, where you can do Roth conversions to try to mitigate some of that tax risk. But it is very, very expensive. So go to StonebridgeTaxBill.com.
Very good. One more time on the number, 866-295-5146.